Good, happy Wednesday evening, November 25th, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Wednesday evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Wednesday evening, so let's begin. First up, we're going to begin with coronavirus in New Hampshire, key information and data. Let's take a look at that right now. And here is a look at that information for all of you right now. There are 18,382 number of people in New Hampshire have tested positive for COVID-19. 12,605,047 number of people in the United States have tested positive. 513 number of deaths from COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 832 number of people have been hospitalized with COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 265 number of deaths from COVID-19 in the United States. Now let's take a look at this map of New Hampshire where current cases of COVID-19 are. In Manchester, 784. Let's take a look at this map of New Hampshire where total cases of COVID-19 are. Manchester, 334.54. Sorry about that, everyone. And now let's take a look at these three charts here. Let's start with the first chart here. New cases each day in New Hampshire in the purple. Daily new positive COVID-19 cases. Orange, new total hospitalizations. Deaths, red, and blue recovered. Let's take a look at this chart here. Current cases in the purple. Total current COVID-19 cases. In the orange, current hospitalization. Let's take a look at this chart here. New cases in the purple. Daily new positive COVID-19 cases. Orange, new hospitalization, and red, deaths. Let's take a look at this chart here. Positive PCR test rate and daily PCR test. Let's take a look at this chart here. Age group of cases, female and male of cases, and risk information. Let's take a look at this chart here. Infections, hospitalizations, and deaths. Let's take a look at this chart here. Deaths, percent of New Hampshire population, race/ethnicity of cases, and hospitalizations. And a reminder, your common symptoms: fever, lack of smell, cough, chills, difficult breathing, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. How it spreads, and prevention tips. And be sure to stay with the Riley King Network for the latest of your COVID-19 information. And we are getting new developments. Neighboring owner buys Manchester property to ensure it won't house homeless, officials say. Funds altercated to set up emergency shelter after previous owner offered building. A Manchester building that was set to be used as an emergency winter shelter for homeless people is no longer available after a neighboring owner bought the property after the city approved the new use. City officials had not revealed the location of the property and neither owner has been named. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen altercated $1.1 million in federal funds to set up and staff the facility after the owner offered its use. The board had considered using JFK Memorial Coliseum as a temporary shelter, but that was taken off the table during the meeting. In a written statement, Mayor Joyce Craig, Fire Chief Daniel Goonan, and Families and Transaction New Horizon President Maria Delvin said the neighboring property owner wanted to assure that no homeless people would be living in the building. We are appalled this happened the day before Thanksgiving and at a time when people in our community are suffering and are in desperate need of emergency shelter, they said in the statement. Since the COVID-19 pandemic started, there has been an influx in the number of people living unsheltered, and the city's 2 shelters are full most nights, officials said. As many people know, the need is great. The officials said as a result of COVID-19, there are fewer shelter beds and more people living unsheltered in our community. The new emergency shelter would have allowed the city to offer about 200 beds until the end of winter, officials said. Officials said they would continue to search for a good location for an emergency shelter. And as you know, the night before Thanksgiving, a lot of people go to bars to celebrate, and the City of Nashua Office of Emergency Management is sending a safety message. Safest at home. COVID-19 cases are on the rise in Nashua. Prevent the spread. Avoid large gatherings. Celebrate the holidays virtually or with your household members only. Protect you and your loved ones. For safety tips and guidance, visit NashuaNewHampshire.gov/COVID-19. Take a look. They posted this 4 hours ago on the City of Nashua Office of Emergency Management. AAA predicts decrease in Thanksgiving travel for the first time in 12 years. State police to step up patrols. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Ray Brewer.
Are traveling for the holiday, according to estimates from AAA. And while most of them are driving, the roads will still be a little less crowded.
Overall, about 95% of the overall travel is going by automobile. We're seeing about a 4.5% decrease in automobile travel this year.
Normally, only about 80 to 85% of people would be traveling by car. And there are some other changes as well.
They're going to be going for a shorter number of days and not as far away from home as well.
Those driving can expect plenty of company from New Hampshire State Troopers who are increasing patrols. State police have a message for drivers.
Simple things like don't drive impaired. Pay attention to what you're doing. Don't drive distracted. It's the same thing. And more importantly, don't speed.
Over at the Manchester-Boston Regional Airport, traffic is down about 60% compared to a year ago. The airport director says they've noticed some other changes as well because of the pandemic.
It's amazing to see how people have kind of shifted their Thanksgiving travel. It used to be that Wednesday was bad, Tuesdays and Wednesdays before Thanksgiving, but it's been a little more spread out this year.
Those in the airport terminal are being required to wear a mask when they're unable to socially distance. The director says in anticipation of more passengers, they're taking some other steps as well to keep people safe.
The team is stepping up on our hand sanitizers and our disinfecting protocols, but all the social distancing markers have been in place. They've been in place for 8 months now.
Regardless of how you're getting to your destination, everyone is advising to pack a little patience along with your belongings. And if you can stay off the roads around 3 p.m. this afternoon, that might be a good idea. That's when traffic is expected to be at its peak. Reporting live in Manchester, Ray Brewer, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. New unemployment filings up in New Hampshire and nationally. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Why buy a new Ford from Plymouth Ford? Because we stand behind them all with a 20-year, New unemployment filings went up in New Hampshire over the last week for the first time in months. That follows the national trend across the country. This is the second week in a row with a rise in new filings. But both nationally and here in New Hampshire, existing unemployment rolls are dropping. In New Hampshire, unemployment dropped in every county between September and October. Some of those are people who have found work. Others have simply used up their jobless benefits.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Lawmakers in Concord craft legislation to allow bulk purchasing for adult vaccine. Practice in place for pediatric vaccines. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
Fall home improvement season is taking off at Beltate's Building Supply. From building materials to tools, paints, and everything else you need, we'll make fall home improvements a breeze. Shop online at Beltates.com. Visit one of our 9 locations or place your order via phone or email.
Vaccines are front and center in American life in a way they haven't been since the days of Dr. Jonas Salk and the taming of the polio virus. Now, the common enemy is COVID-19, but hopefully its days are numbered as well, as several vaccines are on the way. At the State House in Concord, doctor legislators like Representative Jerry Knirk are working on legislation to reduce the cost of all adult vaccines.
Why does Walmart offer such cheap prices? Because they purchase in bulk.
Dr. Knirk says by forming a nonprofit association that pools insurance company dollars to buy vaccine doses in bulk, the savings to the state and patients could be immense. It's something that's already done in New Hampshire for pediatric vaccines.
And the pediatric program, we purchase about $38 million worth of vaccines for about $28 million. The savings is roughly about 26%. For the adults, it is estimated that it should be very similar in terms of the degree of savings.
This bill already passed in the New Hampshire House, but got lost in the mix of the COVID-shortened legislative session. On the pandemic front, the federal government is expected to pick up the tab for COVID vaccination. But if gaps in funding arise next year, or suddenly states find themselves in the position of trying to obtain more vaccine, it's possible that passing this legislation could come in handy.
I think it'd be a great program if it could be fast-tracked to be put in place. If we could get this in place by May or June, that'd be wonderful.
If the bill passes, it will take time to get a bulk purchasing program up and running. The legislation targets 2022, but Dr. Knirk says if the necessities of the pandemic demand it, lawmakers can work together to try to speed things up.
So we can hope we can get this through and just save New Hampshire a lot of money.
In Concord, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Good information there. And hopefully it will go through and things. Take a look at this photo right here. Look at the photo in the crowd of people here. The owner of a Plastow restaurant bar fined $1,500 for violations of COVID-19 precautions, said his place was indicted after Massachusetts banned last night hours for bars and restaurants, and they weren't ready for the crowds. AG fines the Plastow restaurant for COVID-19 violations. And take a look at this photo right here. Nursing home trying to keep the spirits up during Thanksgiving. Unicorns, sharks, aliens, and turkeys. A parade around the perimeter of Pleasant View Center on Tuesday as marching band music blared over loudspeakers. Residents were carefully spaced 6 feet apart and were wrapped in blankets to watch the festivities from the sidewalk. Very cool indeed. And that does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Wednesday evening, and I'll see you back here in the morning for your morning Thanksgiving broadcast. Have a great night, everyone, and see you back here tomorrow with more news coverage. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night and goodbye.